Dear friends, aren't you just a tiny bit proud to be an Episcopalian right now, with the voices of our own leaders, Bishops Curry and Buddy, being heard across the world, opposing police violence in the name of a photo op, calling us all to the highest standard of love, which is justice, calling for meaningful change? It seems that every week when I greet you, offering my hope and prayer that you are safe and well, those greetings have taken on yet another layer of meaning. What is it, the 5th month since the first confirmed case of the coronavirus in the United States? Almost 2 months since we heard as a congregation the news of the misuse of parish funds by our rector Matthew. And now it is the 9th or 10th day of protest around the country and the world against police brutality, inequality, and white supremacy. All I know at this moment, sitting here, is I had no idea how much I don't know and what I don't know about racism. I knew I had a long way to go, but frankly, I thought I was pretty aware. For a privileged, overly educated, older white woman of faith. So here goes my 11th reflection, everyone. It's a work in progress, like our lives. Along with 10,000 and more people, my husband Michael, a longtime protester who makes really good signs and packs a backpack with extra water, his driver's license, emergency contact number, goggles, and sunscreen. He and I attended the rally at the San Francisco Mission District on Wednesday afternoon. There were so many takeaways. The predominantly youthful protesters, many of whom had brought children on their shoulders. The masks worn by everyone, the water and food being handed out for free. But the most powerful takeaway for me this time was the makeshift cardboard signs with BLM scribbled on them, with whatever writing tool must have been handy. There were some great signs that had taken a lot of thought and a lot of time, but there was something about the ralliers carrying those simpler signs that moved me the most. It was as if they had seen the crowds walking toward the school and decided at the last minute to join. Or just as they were leaving their house, they thought, maybe I should write a sign, and they grabbed whatever they could. These people were not the old peacenik pros who had planned ahead and written, "Why are we still doing this?" These were young people stepping up and joining the crowd, creating the crowd, perhaps for the first time. Right after attending the protest, while keeping social distancing successfully, which meant that we were watching from afar, but I was still thanked for wearing my clerical collar, I drove up to care for my 2 granddaughters in Vacaville while their teacher parents were finishing up the school year. For hours, I have sat with my 23-month and 3 weeks old granddaughter, Rory, watching her explore her new world with such curiosity about books and spiders in fence posts and cherry tomato plants and garbage trucks and pee and poop and the feel of a beating heart. I've watched her tear down the sidewalk only to trip and fall flat and get up and look at her hands and wipe them off and keep on running. I've watched her figure out how many blocks she can pile up before they all tumble down and then try again. I've watched her open up my iPod case and place the pods in her ears. Where'd she learn that from? She repeats everything I say even when she can't quite wrap her tongue around some of the words. Triceratops is a challenge, but she keeps trying. You may be wondering, why is she telling us about her granddaughter's curiosity and awkwardness, falls and persistence and discoveries? Because I think she's showing me how I need to be, how we need to be. And Nadia Bolz-Weber, tattooed, beloved public theologian, confirmed that on her blog today. In it, she wrote, "It's humbling to find out you're a novice when you fancied yourself already educated. I thought I knew about racism because I was raised that it was a sin." I was too. My father came from Greenville, Mississippi, heart of the deep South, he used to say wryly and proudly. His father owned a successful traveling sales company, vacuum cleaners, until the Depression hit, when his father had to go to work for the rival company, hitting the road to knock doors as a salesman. My father's stories of his youth often centered around the black men that he knew in the ice house or in the trenches he dug the year he had to quit UVA and go to work. The one thing that he was most ashamed of was when he got into a physical fight with a man in the ice house for calling him George instead of Mr. George. It was the same guy who later saved his life by grabbing a huge ice block on the slide and keeping it from crushing my father. My father never forgot it. Fast forward, my father was rector of All Saints by the Sea, the whitest, wealthiest church in the Santa Barbara area. Some of his closest friends were the black pastors downtown. They decided they wanted their congregations to get to know one another personally, with something they called family-to-family fellowship. The idea was for buddy families assigned to each other to take turns hosting and planning an adventure, an activity to share with their buddy family. I remember how disappointed my father was that it just never really got off the ground. People did try, but I think that the horse riding excursion was the last straw. Nadia writes in her blog, "I was one of the good white people. I knew that white supremacy was wrong, but what I lacked was a genuine curiosity about the things and the ways in which all around me curiosity or white supremacy is baked into so many institutions and beliefs and practices in America. I knew that it was wrong to be racist, but what I did not understand was the way in which racist systems have harmed others while they have benefited me." She goes on and says, "And what do I do with that? How do I fight against something I hate and yet which has loved me back all my life?" Here's what I want to suggest to you, dear people of Trinity. Let us just begin. Let us not allow our white guilt to lead us to try to relieve it, making it still all about us. As someone has said, let us not ask black people to swim through our tears of guilt. However, let us begin. Let us take a step and another and another. We need to learn with humility, to be exposed to the thoughts and work of black people, to go deeper, do the work. Just as with the tripudium step, there is no way we aren't going to make steps that are mistakes and take steps backward, or 2 steps. We'll get things wrong, really wrong. We just need to keep trying. And it's not because doing this will earn the approval of people of color, or because others are doing it, or because this will make us look like we are good. It's because it brings life, and life abundant. Jesus said, "I come that you might have life and have it abundantly." And he meant life for all. That promise can only be had when we insist on the dignity and holiness of every human being. And that is not true for our black and brown siblings. And that's not all. Nadia says, there's simply more to life than we've been told. I want that for you. I want that for me. For damn sure I want that for our black and brown siblings. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." That's freedom. freedom for all. I've signed up for a 2-part master class led by the Reverend Dr. Jacqui Lewis next week, whose details, I hope, are in the description for my reflection. It's called The Call of This Moment, an Antiracism Workshop. If the details aren't in the description, please email me at revfhk@gmail.com. If this isn't the right step for you at the right time, fine. Just try to find that next step and make it, take it. Let us just join together, not just in yearning, but in taking the step. And there will be abundant life for all.